morning, everyone. It's April the 9th, 2013. Not that the date is relevant, but it seems like a nice way to introduce a video. We're here in Worsley Woods on the outskirts of Manchester, in Greater Manchester. And this, I guess, is the launch video for Indigene, I-N-D-I-G-E-N-E, which means indigenous to a place. And it came to me in a dream. I was in a field, much like this one, and I suddenly realized in the dream that I belonged to that field. I was born on that field. From a great enough scale, there is no difference when viewed from outer space. And the point is, we are all indigenous to this planet, to the earth, to the stars, to reality itself. And so Indigene is about a free reality. Indigene is about the recognition of your consciousness stating, self-stating, I am. And I just want to state, I am Indigene because I belong to this land. I'm a human being, forged from incredible geometry, incredible efficiency, incredible mathematical and potentially spiritual rules in this world, which is my world. I am this world, and you are this world. And a phrase I saw recently from a friend of mine, Bill, who started a website called Minds, is the phrase free and open source everything. And many of us do live by that already. We do regard things as open source and free. I speak of the BitTorrent generation, the people of us who watch great works of art without advertising, the people amongst us who feel that filmmakers and musicians should earn their money by actually performing in public or from donations from the public, rather than from overinflated record or film deals, you know, which have to pay a lot of middlemen, a lot of advertising men, which, as our dear brother Bill Hicks says, should kill themselves. Well, I don't think people in advertising should kill themselves, because my fiancée's been offered a job in new media sales, which is advertising, so I hope she doesn't feel the need to kill herself, but I think Bill Hicks was joking when he said that. Anyway, I'm not going to try and change any minds with this video. I'm not going to try and convince people that, you know, this philosophy is any greater than any other philosophy, or if there's a need for Indigene when we already have voluntarism, libertarianism, anarchism, communism, socialism, capitalism. This isn't an ism. This is an assertion, I guess, is Indigene. And much like Buddhists will defend and say, well, Buddhism isn't a religion. Well, I say Indigene is not a movement. Much like you can't really say the internet is a movement, although the internet does incredible things to freedom and to people's brains and to the exchange of information. I feel that a simple assertion of I am Indigene can really open your mind up to a whole world of freedom. And I do see the mistakes I've made in the last 4 years, in the scapegoating and the exchange of negativity with people in person when we meet up in bars or coffee shops or what have you, or the incessant exchange of negativity and evil through Facebook links or YouTube links. And there is a great truth of that, you know, for real difference, don't keep fighting that which has been, unless you have to. I mean, I'm not going to say that in a last stand situation you shouldn't fight. You have to do what you feel is right as a free being. But all these assaults on Maggie Thatcher's dignity, I mean, she's dead now, she's not going to respond, but all these like caricatures of David Cameron or George Osborne or Barack Obama or John Kerry, the new Secretary of State in America, or whichever little bureaucratic idiot is the Prime Minister of Canada. Who can remember these things? Harper, and then we got Gillard in Australia, so, and Merkel and Hollande, François Hollande, Hollandaise sauce in France. They have an outdated and myopic view of how to run things, and it's based on control and power. So it is in a way the opposite of free and open source everything. It's the opposite of Indigene. And the assertion that I am connected to the entire universe through the very smallest scale and the very biggest scale. I am made of the elementary particles that could only be forged, and forged is the right word, through the incredible energies formed at the explosion of stars, at the birth of stars, at the death of stars. And very quick aside, I stayed in the Stardust Hotel in Las Vegas many years ago, which I thought was quite funny. I think they've demolished it now, but I feel so peaceful today, so in tune with who I am. There's that phrase again. And I was hoping I wouldn't mention the word God in this, but don't Christians and Muslims and monotheists say that I am is the true name of God, the assertion in the Upanishads? The universe begins with the self. And what I find really fascinating now is the fight between, fundamentalist materialists and those scientists like Mario Beauregard, who wrote The Spiritual Brain, or Rupert Sheldrake, the Cambridge biologist who wrote Science Set Free or The Science Delusion. There is a big battle, and these people get censored at TED Talks, between those who will reduce reality through the objective observable universe down to square one, which is consciousness, and then they'll go no further. The reductionist materialists will even go as far as to say that consciousness is an illusion. It's a kind of ghostly illusion that the computing machine going at very high speed creates the illusion of choice, of free will, of consciousness. And it's a theory, but I personally think that really the fight is between atheist reductionist materialists who say there's nothing special, it's just fucking chance and mathematical rules, that's all it is, there's nothing special. And then there's spiritual people, or people like Sheldrake, who say, well, hold on a second, the very framework that these mathematical rules exist in, the very background, the unified field that, light as a wave or particle or anything has to exist in, there needs to be a framework. For actors to exist, there needs to be a stage. And I know that many people will say, well, we're putting the question, like, rather than who created the universe, we're putting the question onto, well, who created the creator? But many cultures throughout history have just answered this in a more poetic, a more simple way, that, like, the totality of everything is that from which you cannot go any further up or down or anything. It's the all-encompassing all that is. And I've got good news for you, ladies and gentlemen, is that you are right here, right now watching this video, you are the most glorious manifestation of that energy, whatever it is, whether it's pure maths or whether it truly is infinite love. You are. I am. You are. Not those people on TV, not the anorexic models in the magazines, not the hateful, angry people who spread real hatred on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever. They're not. Those ideas are not spectacular. The only thing which is spectacular, the starting point, the square one of everything, is the assertion that I am. I have always been. I will always be. And from even just a very basic mathematical viewpoint, if we take an infinite scale, an infinite space-time scale, and this goes into a bit of quantum theory, so forgive me here. Given an infinite time scale and a fully open quantum probability amplitude where the whole universe exists everywhere all at once, it's not just a chance, it's a mathematical certainty that that which makes up your I am, your consciousness, will come again. And because the space, this is just mathematics here. If you're not conscious in the space in between, much like sleep, forgive the wind, let me put my hand there. If you're not conscious of the space in between, it's as if you died and you woke up instantly. And so the expression, I always am, is also true. Let me just pan the camera around, give you a nice view here. Like, it's a bit hazy today, but this is where I am. This is where I am, with no people around me. I am isolated. Where was I? And I wrote a novel many years ago, 5 years ago now, in 2008, called The Love of the Mathematicians. And I wrote this because though I am not trained in the language of mathematics, I appreciate that myself and the other 7 billion people on Earth are the greatest mathematical constructs, the greatest mathematicians, full of love that this universe has ever seen. That grey matter behind your eyeballs is, is the most complicated physical object in the entire observable universe. There's something like more connections between the neurons in your brain than there are galaxies or stars in the universe. And that's complicated. Those connections, that uncertainty, that quantum potentiality is so great. And we cannot say that the brain and the physical processes gives rise to consciousness, because what we're doing there is making the mistake that correlation implies causation. Materialists will look at a brain scan and they'll see like an area of the brain fire up electrical signals when someone feels love or affection, and they'll say, aha, see? Love and affection are nothing more than electrical signals in the brain. But they're jumping the gun, and the people who understand what I mean by correlation does not imply causation will see that electrical impulses are correlated with the feeling of love. But can we really say they cause love? It might be the other way around. The love causes, and this is the thing. The scientist Stephen Jay Gould, look him up. He says that spirituality and science are not in any conflict because they don't overlap. And I'm coming to think this as well. Scientists and spiritual people need to stop arguing, because ultimately we're all looking at the exact same picture, the same I amness. And if I can have one small critique of scientists, is their terror, the fear that there may be a non-material essence to the universe, a unified field, an akashic field, a morphogenetic field, that other scientists, Sheldrake for example, say. But there's nothing to be scared of. Forgive the wind, I'm sure this wind is very, very noisy. Let me just make sure I'm not zooming in too far here. But I do believe I'm coming up to a canal, and I don't know this canal, so let's go look at it. The movement, the group, the free and open source organization, the chaos, whatever Indigene is, it's an idea. And I hope it's one of those ideas whose time has come, that nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. It's really a courageous, as I said earlier, assertion that there's not a single other adult or child or animal or goat or solar system or galaxy that can tell you what to do. I mean, when you realize that your soul, your essence is one with the incredible totality of this universe. I mean, it's hard to put into words. There's other cultures, there's other theories that state that all that is, the isness of everything, cannot be named. And the assertion, I am that which cannot be named. I mean, I'm Charlie Veitch. I mean, but so many people ask me how I have the courage or the balls to go out there, and I get accused of being a government agent, which is laughable, because I think people watch the videos sometimes, the films of me confronting or conflicting with alleged fancy-dressed uniformed authority figures, and they go, there's no way a human being can do that. He must be an agent. He must be a crisis actor. He must be something stupid like that. And it is laughable if it wasn't so, damaging, because a lot of people who approach my videos, who are fresh to my ideas, they're quite scared by them at times, because this much freedom, when you take the reins off, when you take off the collar off these puppies, they ain't so brave anymore, and people, when the leash is severed, they get a bit terrified. And I guess what my work has been with the Love Police is to is to chop the leash off that barking dog and let it go running forth. And I'll give you an analogy, a metaphor from real life. I was visiting my parents in Porto, where the port comes from in Portugal. My dad was working out there, his final job before he retired. And we still do have a Jack Russell called Rio, and he's a very big, strong Jack Russell. He wants to fight all other dogs, as dogs do. And there's a massive boxer dog at the end of the street, and he had one of those extendable, those clicky, extendable leashes that, you press the button and it stops, but it gives them a bit of leeway to run. Anyway, he was all big and brave, and he's running towards the boxer dog. He was going to kill it. And then as soon as that little contraption snapped, the cord snapped, Rio, he froze dead in his tracks. All 4 paws just suddenly skidded to a halt. And he came running back to me, because without his connection to the master, to the government, to his boss, "Hey boss," said the dog, he wasn't so brave. And a lot of people who view my films, they do feel that fear. And it is unfortunate that in the comments section there is so much tripe and hatred written, but free speech, free expression, and one can only hope that the people who are frightened by this will digest it and come back later. But I can promise, I can say, I can look into the camera, take the shades off, of course I'm not an agent, I'm just a guy, just like you, searching for meaning and giving my life meaning through creating Indigene, through asserting that I am. And look, let's see this massive gash here in the fence. Here's a good gash. I don't know what this is, but some strange pathways here. I just want to go look at the canal. I think there must be a canal here. Let's have a look. Yeah, of course there's a canal here. I mean, otherwise I was tripping balls and I saw a canal boat just travel along Earth. Anyway, that's what I saw. That's what I saw when I said there must be a canal here. I saw a canal boat. So, really, as I said earlier, I'm not trying to change minds with this video. What I do want to say, though, is if you understand what I'm saying, if you agree with me, please do write in. Please do write in the comments section. Write to me. Do me a response video to this one, and I will certainly post it, positive or negative. I want to get a dialogue going. I want there to be a consciousness shift of people who are suddenly, or slowly, very empowered by the very simple concept that you are the universe. Because you are self-aware, there's something very fascinating, from even a mainstream scientific point of view. The most complicated, the most advanced physical object in the entire universe is in your head. Or from a more spiritual, a more subjective view, it's hard to put into words. I'm not getting emotional here, but my throat does clog up when I try and say things which can come out so tacky or absurd or cheesy. It's hard to say great things about people without it sounding cheesy, because, put my hand in front of the wind again, our civilization, the Western civilization anyway, in fact all of them, they're all the same, are so good at denying the greatness of man. And there's no way governments and religions can exist if they told the truth, like I'm trying to tell you now, that you don't need a middleman, your connection with the absolute is direct. Governments and religions are kind of like the master holding the leash. And when the leash breaks, it's very scary, but it needs to break. And it is breaking. And it's broken for me. And to the British government, I mean, to be fair, they have not chased me for not paying any income tax. They have not chased me for not paying my council tax. Things which people get thrown in jail for. And it's not the case that I have some secret agreement with the government where I do, it's bollocks. The case is that you have to show your balls. You have to really lay your cards out on the table and assert, I am. And that's to the police, to the government, to the tax man, to the marketing man, to anyone who wants to put you down, to anyone who wants to humiliate you and destroy you. Just say, I am. Doesn't matter. I am. I've gone through a very big change recently. Like, as I mentioned in the recent video by Carl Jung, only that which changes remains true, and the seasons are changing, the climate allegedly is changing. Could be the sun, who knows, let's not get into that discussion. Everything changes. And sometimes change is very painful. And you can feel like you're going crazy. And it can sometimes be a very lonely experience as well, when you don't understand the people around you, or they don't understand you, or they treat you with hatred and savagery because you're different. And I've had this experience here, you know, when you move out of London and you come to some, you know, a smaller place in England, and you move out to the suburbs where they don't see foreigners very often, and you open your mouth and you say something quite hippie, and you can almost see the kind of metal shutters of people's brains come down, and the xenophobia, the fear. And man will always attack that which he's scared of, because that which he's scared of, he has been programmed by millions of years of evolution. Whether it be Darwinian or the new advanced epigenetic evolution, who knows? But you want to make enemies, try and change something, try and assert something new. Wasn't Galileo thrown in jail by the Roman Catholics for asserting that the earth was round, or that the sun went round? Sorry, that the earth orbited the sun. The church doesn't like this. Let me put my hand on the wind again. And the government. Can you see that wind? Are the trees shaking? It's windy. And the government will not like your assertion that you're indigenous to this land. You don't owe anyone tax. You don't owe anyone anything. You're a free human being. You're a caveman. You're the most spectacular technological object that has ever existed. And somehow, and scientists kill themselves over this to the point where they deny the existence of consciousness. And somehow, you're self-aware. And when you take everything back to its most basic form, when you close your eyes and try and think infinitely, you get back to square one, back to the I am. And at the moment, I can't seem to get past I am as an assertion. There is myself, there is my awareness. Can't get any further than that towards infinity. Indigene. I am indigenous. You are indigenous. And I would never try and control you. I would never try to tell you what to do. And because I ascribe my morality for what I would do to everyone else, because I'm not a hypocrite, I cannot, tolerate, I'm not going to kill them, but I cannot tolerate police and government and laws and things trying to tell people what to do. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people will choose to be part of a government, will choose to consent to laws, they will choose to obey the police, and that is their right, and I don't have a right to tell them not to. It's like that great poster, anarchists of the world, come together. No. And that is their right. But what we have to say to these people, because they do get quite shrill, they get quite angry, they get quite hysterical, they want to dominate and control others, these are the people, because they're choosing to be part of government, because they're terrified, they think everyone should fall under government. And if you ever have a dinner party with these people, and I'm paraphrasing Stefan Molyneux of Free Domain Radio here, try and get out of your friends, your dinner party guests, say, would you want to at gunpoint throw people in jail for not being part of your group, your state, your government? And they're going, no, not at gunpoint. But what they're basically saying is, yes, if you don't pay your taxes, they will have people at gunpoint in black military uniforms looking like they're about to invade Poland. And oh yeah, one last thing. I've used this phrase so many times, oh, look at this policeman in fancy dress, dressed like he's about to invade Poland. And I stole that. It was a line used by Marky Mark, what's his name, Mark Wahlberg, in the film The Departed, by Martin Scorsese. It was a bit near the start where someone gets demoted to the level of a traffic cop, and he's wearing the full black NYPD uniform, or LAPD, And someone says, you look like you're about to invade Poland. And I thought, that is fucking hilarious. I need to use that. I need to see like if anyone picks me up on that. And in 4 years, no one's picked me up on that. But that's great. Anyway, I hope you don't all think this is easy. This is now 25 minutes in, and I'm having to walk, breathe, prevent my head from exploding, and attempt to speak eloquently to you guys, whilst making sure I don't have any lip snot or any snot coming out of my nose, and like when a bit of saliva goes in your beard and you look like a fucking idiot. Maybe I do. I'm also trying to avoid dog walkers and people walking around because it's not mainstream yet to have a guy walking around filming himself discussing these ideas. I'm going to go sit on that log over there. I'll tell you what I've just seen and I'll tell you why. Well, actually, no, you'll see why I want to go sit on it. Look at that. I'm going to go sit on it. As I walk to the tree, I want to say an incredible thank you to everyone who's supported the Love Police financially and through houses to stay at, through flights to come and visit you, to opportunities for interaction and debate. And really, I guess the biggest thank you is to all of us combined, everyone who made this possible. And you made it possible very simply, just by sitting there and watching my ideas, or the ideas whoever was on my channel. And that's great, and I thank you. And let me just be very, very, very deep and brutally honest about myself and about my motivations, which kind of follow the monomyth, the hero's journey. And I'm not calling myself a hero, but if you know what the monomyth is, you'll know what I mean by the hero's journey. The kind of the one true myth, the one true path that everyone, man or woman, has to take, the hero's journey. And I, about 3 years ago, about a year into the Love Police, I knew that the day would come, and that day is today. The day would come when I would have to make a choice whether I am a filmmaker or whether I am a revolutionary. And I think we know I'm a revolutionary without guns. And I think many of us have noticed that the filmmaking is secondary to that. I need to buy food for my son, and so I do need to take film jobs here and there. And I hope I do a good job. And I think it's the energy, it's the I amness of the videos, rather than the technical skill or the full HD or the white balance or the angles, or the edit. I've never liked editing. Oh, and another thing as well. Anyway, the monomyth. You will, and I did, reject your calling for as long as you can. You pick an easier calling. And the easier calling is like, yay, become proficient at filmmaking, start a film production company. That's the easier calling. The harder calling is to stick true to your guns and realize that you'd only be jumping into the same matrix as everyone else is suffering under. And I'll tell you something, I think the film which cemented that I am a revolutionary and not a filmmaker was the film Cloud Atlas, which I highly recommend. It's the kind of unofficial sequel to The Matrix, but I know we all know that's not true. I mean, it's a novel written by David Mitchell, but the future scenes with Sonmi 451, that is pure Matrix number 4, and you'll know what I mean when you watch it. But watching that incredible film, the Cloud Atlas, it showed me that you can be a filmmaker and you can make incredible works of art. But I think my skills and my energy and what I want to do is much more in person, live, doing it in the moment. Oh yeah, and this takes me nicely onto scripting. I mean, obviously aside from the ridiculous accusations that I'm an actor, I mean, I have acted in the past on stage. I obviously got paid by Press TV, £75 to go on there and rant against Zionists. And they never invited me back, Press TV, because when they were trying to get me to big up the Iranian government, I said I was an anarchist and that the Iranian mafia, when there's a takeover by the Zionist mafia, will deserve everything they get for trying to control and dominate and brutalize the people. And there are documentaries which you can watch about how the Iranian government will basically arrest and jail filmmakers and throw away the key for being counter-revolutionary. And so any regime that jails filmmakers for having ideas, like, there's karma. There is karma. And all governments are also subject to the laws of karma. Where that karma comes from, I don't know. But for the Iranian theocratic regime, that karma will probably come in the form of stealth bombers. Very sad, but don't stone gaze and don't jail filmmakers and give your people freedom, and then you'll probably find that you won't be invaded. I'll give you an example. Brazil, where I was born, where I have a nationality, I've got 2 passports, British and Brazilian, but Brazil does not jail filmmakers. Brazil does not stone gay people. America is not poised to invade Brazil. Simple, isn't it? Simple. I am Indigene. I like the ring of it. It reminds me a bit of I Am Legend, which I hope you've all read the book for. The audiobook you can get on BitTorrent, and it's very good. And like they did a good job in the film, but it's not quite like the book I Am Legend. But to all my viewers, thank you for holding on for 32 minutes now. I really appreciate that. And what I want to do, what I will do, because want is to dream is to... Let me try and get this phrase right in my head before I blurt it out. To dream is to solidify the potentiality wave of existence. To dream is to solidify the potentiality wave of existence. And you can say many things about me. You can hate me, you can call me this, you can call me that, you can call me a shill, a sellout, a flip-flopper, someone who changed their mind too much, someone who is arrogant, someone who's ego-driven, someone who's a lot of very bad things that people say, and only half of them are true. Don't believe the other half. Only half the bad things are true. As is always the case with most stories, the truth is somewhere in the middle. But one thing I certainly am, I am a dreamer. And Indigene, on April the 9th, 2013, is how I visualize free and open source everything. Government, warfare, love, everything is indigenous. And no one can ever tell you what to do. And this raises very big questions about the state of the masses of society. There's a great relationship between the perceiver and the object, the observer and the object, and that which is observed. And there's a great quantum relationship between the taxer and the taxee, or the fucker and the fuckee, the employer, the employee. Without the people living in fear and paying their tax, there would be no oppression and no government. And to everyone who screams, yeah, but how are the ambulances going to run? How are we going to have roads? How are we going to have electricity? How are we going to defend people? How are we going to have courts? Doesn't matter. We're very intelligent. We have infinite potential in our minds. We are rational. We are logical. We can figure this stuff out. And in the meantime, as a non-taxpayer, if any ambulance crew wishes to deny me treatment if they come across me and I'm badly injured because I don't pay tax, that's your choice. But something tells me that the infinite human, the I am inside the ambulance crew, would probably want to take care of me regardless of my views of the Queen or of government, or regardless of how much tax I've paid. Because there is a much bigger force than government. There's a much bigger force than taxation, than military. And that is the assertion that you are, that I am. This video will be called Indigene number 1. Indigene number 2 will be coming soon. Thank you so much for listening, and please do feel free to reply in the comment section, or send a video response, which I will post, or write to me direct. And I have big plans. I want to build earthships. I want to organize mass protests that actually push towards something rather than fighting against something. And we'll see. It's not your fault that you're in a world which hasn't evolved to your level yet in terms of fear versus love. But all you can do is be a teacher. And when you teach, you learn so much. I've probably been the biggest receiver of lessons and learning from making these videos. Like someone might say, well, it's the viewer that takes something from them, but then it's me. I went by talking for half an hour, I've learned so much. So with love, with loyalty, with the big assertion that I am indigenous, that I am indigene, take care, and I'll see you soon.